We have some major updates of mixed martial arts, starting with the news. Joe Rogan has declared Max Holloway's knockout of Justin Gaethje as the greatest in UFC history. The knockout by Max Holloway against Justin at UFC 300 was quite impressive and fans really enjoyed it, and recently Joe Rogan also gives his take on it. The UFC just dropped an exclusive video related to this fight, and in the final 3 seconds of the video, Joe Rogan states that this knockout is the best in UFC history. Take a look.
That's the greatest knockout of all time. That's the greatest knockout of all time.
Daniel Cormier had a good laugh at his awful year of predictions. As we close out another year of MMA, Daniel Cormier is probably not too excited to look back at his predictions from the past year. On a fun episode of the DC and RC show, Daniel Cormier and his former co-host Ryan Clark laughed about all the predictions they got wrong over the past year. Cormier openly admitted that their bad predictions had become a joke on the show, turning what could have been embarrassing into something lighthearted.
A staple of our show was making horrible predictions. Bro, like we were literally the worst at predictions last year. So I will give mine really fast, and then I'll let you give yours after I just run down what we did last year. Last year we did fights I wanted to see. Okay. I said Jones-Miocic, which we got. McGregor-Chandler, which now it seems like they're talking about fighting each other again. Then I said Jones versus Miocic, Jones winner versus Tom Aspinall. That might happen. I said my male fighter of the year was going to be Tom Aspinall. Wrong. I said my female fighter of the year was going to be Erin Blanchfield. Double wrong. And I said that my new champion by December would be Shavkat. I almost got that. Because if Bilal didn't get hurt, they would have fought. So maybe. But again, I was horrible as I always was. Yours. Fights to see. Jones Aspinall. Wrong. O'Malley Merab, you actually got. Pantoja Moreno 3. I think that fight happened. It happened so far. So you might have got 2 right on that one. You said your fighter of the year was Sean O'Malley. Wrong. Female fighter of the year, Zhang Wei Li, which could still be.
Yeah.
And then your new champion by December was Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill.
Ex-UFC referee blames UFC for not doing things properly. So recently, UFC former referee John McCarthy pointed out a big problem with how things are done in the UFC. He thinks a real referee, someone who knows the rules inside and out, would do a better job explaining situations like fouls or stoppages. Right now, Coach Din Thomas is handling that role, but McCarthy believes a professional referee would give clearer and more accurate explanations for the fans, especially when things get confusing during a fight. He feels like the UFC would be better off with someone who really understands the rules and the role of the referee in those tough moments. The referee's statement clearly shows that the job isn't being done well in the UFC right now, and mistakes are happening. Even though he's currently working with PFL, McCarthy wants to come back to the UFC and fix the communication issues during the broadcasts. He thinks UFC commentators, while they try, don't always have the full understanding of the rules or the referee's job. This can lead to confusion when fouls or stoppages happen in a fight. With his experience, McCarthy believes he could help clear things up for the viewers, which is why he's offering to return to the UFC. And now, speaking to MMA Junkie, McCarthy shared his take by saying, "I don't know if the UFC would want me, but yeah, I could do it with the UFC. Honestly, I think it's something they need. Too many times, their commentators are unsure about what's going on or what should be done. It's not their fault. Commentators are there to explain the fight, but they can't always know the rules or what the referee needs to do." Merab Dvalishvili is targeting 3 title fights over a span of 4 months in 2025. Dvalishvili is doing good in the UFC with 11 wins in a row, but some fans think Umar will beat Merab. Meanwhile, Merab has a bold plan. During a recent talk with UFC, he reveals that he wants to fight 3 times in just 4 months. First, he wants to fight Umar, then in March, he plans to fight Petr Yan, and in April, he wants rematch with Sean O'Malley.
I want to win this fight, and I want to be busy in 2025. I'm fighting early this year, January 18, and I just want to be busy. I know O'Malley wants to come back in April. I think Peter will be ready in March, so maybe fight Peter March, rematch in April, and whoever will be next contender, I will clean the division again.
At the same time, Luke Rockhold predicts how this fight will 100% go.
This is a tough matchup. Merab's just he's a tricky, tough, hard-nosed dude. So it's like, when Umar can beat him everywhere. Really, he can outstrike him, and then Merab can shoot in. Umar can counter him and get to his back. I mean, I'm telling you, he's better than him everywhere. Really. I mean, Merab might have a wrestling advantage in some way, shape, or form, but not. Think about it. You're like, oh, it's a tough matchup for Umar. But then you start really looking at it, and you're like, wait, he's gonna outstrike Merab, and then Merab's gonna get frustrated. He's gonna shoot in. Umar's gonna counter him. He's probably gonna get to a dominant position, and it's gonna go back up. I don't see it like that fight going any other way.
Chael Sonnen believes that John Jones versus Tom Aspinall is the biggest fight the UFC has ever made in history. Sonnen recently made a video on his YouTube channel about the John versus Aspinall fight, where he shared that this is the biggest fight in UFC ever, plus John doesn't want to compete again after this. No matter if he wins or loses, Sonnen breaks down why he's making this decision. Listen to what he actually revealed.
You have an extremely disputed champion who is identified as the undisputed champion. You have an extremely respected interim champion who exists in the presence of an undisputed champion, which is rhetorically and linguistically impossible. But here we are. If Jones is to get over on Aspinall, he is very unlikely to fight again. The amount of money that he would make for that night of participation, it's hard to get anybody to fight again. Dana says he believes it could be the biggest fight, but I just want to ask you just for fun, is that the biggest fight that you could hypothetically make up? Could you come up with a bigger one? Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz in an MMA fight, is that bigger? If I was to play that game, Tom versus John is the big.
Looks like Khabib is not impressed with Islam Makhachev's training. Right now, Islam is preparing for his upcoming fighting camp, and recently he posted a video on his Insta handle where he goes to Khabib and asks him how his training is going. In reply, Khabib expresses dissatisfaction. Check this.
Короче, эту неделю нормально отпахали. Вот даже результат налицо. Тренера спросим.
Доволен я или нет?
Да,
Честно?
да.
Четверка.
4. А что надо сделать, чтобы 5 получить?
Брат, в среду вечером отдохнули?
Да.
Ну,
Нельзя было?
нет, конечно.
Ой.
Отдыхаем в воскресенье и суббота вечер. Все.
And that's all for today's update. Hit that subscribe button and make sure to press notification bell so you get regular updates on what's going on here in MMA world. And most importantly, please take care of yourself.